Chapter 1. The Whispers of a New Life. The penthouse gleamed under the soft morning light, a testament to Alexander Sterling's unparalleled success. From its lofty perch, one could survey an empire, a tangible representation of the power and influence he wielded. Yet, at this precise moment, none of it mattered. All that occupied Alexander's formidable mind was the woman asleep beside him, Amelia. Her dark hair fanned across the silk pillow, a gentle smile playing on her lips. She was his world, the vibrant color in his otherwise meticulously structured life. Amelia stirred, her eyes fluttering open to meet his unwavering gaze. "Good morning, my love," she murmured, her voice still thick with sleep. She stretched languidly, a small, almost imperceptible wince crossing her features. Alexander's brow furrowed instantly. He was attuned to her every nuance. "Are you all right, darling?" he asked, his voice a low rumble, instantly alert. She chuckled softly, shaking her head. "Just a bit of morning queasiness. Nothing major." She tried to dismiss it, but the subtle pallor beneath her skin and the slight trembling of her hand as she reached for his told a different story. Alexander sat up, propping himself on an elbow. "Queasiness," he repeated, a flicker of something unreadable in his eyes. He reached out, his large, capable hand gently cupping her cheek. His touch was always a balm, strong yet incredibly tender. Amelia hesitated, then a slow, radiant smile spread across her face, eclipsing the lingering discomfort. She reached under her pillow, pulling out a small, almost flimsy object. It was a home pregnancy test, and the two distinct lines on it were impossible to misinterpret. Alexander's eyes widened, first in disbelief, then in dawning comprehension. The world-renowned CEO, known for his unshakable composure and steel-trap mind, was utterly speechless. He stared at the small stick, then at Amelia, his gaze softening, transforming. "Amelia, is this?" he began, his voice barely a whisper, a stark contrast to his usual authoritative tone. She nodded, tears welling in her eyes, tears of joy and overwhelming emotion. "Yes, Alex. We're pregnant." The silence that followed was profound, filled only with the quiet hum of the city far below and the rapid beating of Alexander's heart. He pulled her into his arms, a fierce, protective embrace that felt like the safest place in the universe. He buried his face in her hair, inhaling her familiar scent, his entire body trembling slightly. This was it. The missing piece. The legacy. But more than that, the profound continuation of their love. "My beloved," he whispered against her hair, his voice choked with emotion. This is everything." He pulled back slightly, his hands cupping her face, his thumbs gently stroking her cheeks. His eyes, usually sharp and calculating, were swimming with unshed tears. "You are truly the most extraordinary woman. And now you're carrying our child." He kissed her then, a kiss that was both tender and possessive, a promise of unwavering devotion. The queasiness of the morning was forgotten, replaced by an overwhelming sense of wonder and burgeoning excitement. Alexander Sterling, the man who commanded billions, felt like the richest man in the world, not because of his vast fortune, but because of the precious life blossoming within his beloved wife. His world had just expanded, no longer just a sprawling empire, but a sacred space for the family they were about to become. The whispers of a new life had just begun, and Alexander vowed to protect and cherish both Amelia and their unborn child with every fiber of his being. The journey had just begun. Chapter 2. A Fortress of Love and Security. The news of Amelia's pregnancy transformed Alexander Sterling. The astute, often formidable CEO, whose every waking moment had previously been dedicated to expanding his colossal empire, now found his priorities irrevocably shifted. The first order of business, even before consulting the top obstetricians in the country, was to ensure Amelia's absolute comfort and security. Within hours of the joyful revelation, Alexander had discreetly assembled his most trusted team. His executive assistant, the unflappable Ms. Davies, was given a single, non-negotiable directive. Amelia's well-being was paramount. This translated into a flurry of activity that bypassed the usual corporate channels. A renowned nutritionist specializing in maternal health was quietly brought on board. A personal trainer, experienced in prenatal exercise, was vetted and engaged. Even the kitchen staff at the penthouse found their menus subtly but rigorously revised to incorporate the most beneficial nutrients for a developing baby and a glowing mother-to-be. Amelia, accustomed to Alexander's efficient and thorough nature, was nevertheless overwhelmed by the sheer scale of his immediate response. One afternoon, she found him on a video call, his expression intense as he reviewed blueprints. "What's all this, Alex?" she asked, peeking over his shoulder. He smiled, a rare, softer curve of his lips that was reserved almost exclusively for her. "Just a few adjustments to the residence. For our little one." He gestured to a section of the plan that showed an entire wing being repurposed. What was once a rarely used guest suite was being transformed into an ultramodern nursery, complete with state-of-the-art climate control, advanced air purification systems, and a soundproofing design usually reserved for recording studios. Adjacent to it, a dedicated suite for Amelia, should she need more rest, and a discreet, fully equipped medical room, stocked for any eventuality, no matter how remote. "Alex, this is extravagant," she said, a mix of awe and amusement in her voice. He simply shrugged, his eyes crinkling at the corners. "Only the best for my beloved wife and our child. I want you to feel utterly safe, utterly comfortable, every single moment. This isn't extravagance, Amelia, it's peace of mind." His gaze held hers, conveying a depth of commitment that transcended mere words or material gestures. It was a promise, etched in the very walls being built, that he would create a fortress of love and security around them. The world outside the penthouse continued to buzz with the news of Sterling Enterprises' latest acquisition, their monumental stock surges, and Alexander Sterling's unyielding dominance. But within their sanctuary, a different kind of power was at play, the quiet, profound power of a family beginning, nurtured by a love that sought to anticipate every need, protect against every worry, and build a world around the woman who carried his future. Amelia felt an almost dizzying sense of belonging, cherished beyond measure, realizing that Alexander's wealth was not merely a display, but a tool wielded entirely for their happiness. Chapter 3: Navigating the Golden Cage. Amelia's days quickly settled into a rhythm dictated by meticulous care and Alexander's unwavering attention. The top obstetrician, Dr. Aries Thorne, a man whose calm demeanor belied his sharp intellect, became a regular fixture, his visits discreetly arranged to cause minimal disruption. Every dietary recommendation from the nutritionist was followed, every gentle exercise suggested by the trainer was performed. Amelia often found herself smiling, a little overwhelmed but undeniably touched by the sheer scale of the operation dedicated to her well-being. Sometimes, a flicker of an old life would surface. Amelia, once an independent artist who thrived on the vibrant energy of city life and the freedom of her studio, occasionally felt a gentle pull towards her canvases. Alexander, ever perceptive, noticed her lingering gaze at the light-filled art room, now largely untouched. "Thinking of painting, love?" he asked one quiet afternoon, finding her by the window, idly sketching patterns on the condensation. She sighed, a wistful sound. "A little. It feels indulgent, with everything going on. And sometimes, I just miss the quiet solitude of it, away from, well, all this." She gestured vaguely at the opulent surroundings, knowing he understood she meant the layers of protection and luxury that, while comforting, also felt like a gilded cage at times. Alexander walked over, his arm encircling her waist gently. "It's never indulgent to pursue your passion, Amelia. And our child will benefit from a mother who is creatively fulfilled." He pressed a soft kiss to her temple. "Why not try? We can arrange for anything you need. A new studio, if this one feels too exposed. Or just an hour each day, uninterrupted." The thought was liberating. She hadn't realized how much she'd missed it until he offered the path back. "Just an hour, I think," she decided, leaning into his warmth. "Maybe a few sketches. Nothing too strenuous." True to his word, the next morning, the art room was subtly reorganized. New canvases appeared, alongside fresh paints and brushes, all her favorites, sourced from small, artisanal shops around the globe. Alexander didn't hover, but he made sure that during her designated art time, no calls, no staff, no external distractions would interrupt her. He would often just sit in a nearby armchair, quietly reading a financial report, his presence a silent anchor, not a demand. These moments, simple yet profound, reminded Amelia that while Alexander's wealth brought immense security and comfort, it was his unwavering love and his deep understanding of her true needs that truly doted on her. He didn't just provide, he observed, he anticipated, and he enabled. The golden cage, under his loving gaze, felt less like a constraint and more like a sanctuary built with the deepest affection, allowing her spirit and the new life within her to flourish. Chapter 4: The First Flutter. As the weeks turned into months, Amelia's pregnancy progressed smoothly, a testament to the unparalleled care surrounding her. Her morning sickness had subsided, replaced by a blossoming glow that made Alexander's heart swell with pride every time he looked at her. He found himself rearranging his intense schedule, delegating more, and even postponing crucial international meetings, all to maximize his time with Amelia. His board members, initially bewildered by his unprecedented flexibility, quickly understood the reason, albeit through discreet channels. The news of the Sterling heir's impending arrival was already a whispered sensation in elite circles. One crisp afternoon, while they were enjoying a quiet lunch on their penthouse terrace, overlooking the sprawling city, something momentous happened. Amelia had been recounting a humorous anecdote about one of her childhood art classes, when suddenly, her hand flew to her abdomen. Her eyes widened, a look of pure astonishment lighting up her face. "Alex," she breathed, her voice barely audible, "did you feel that?" Alexander, who had been leaning forward, captivated by her story, instinctively reached out, his large hand gently covering hers where it rested on her stomach. "What is it, love? Are you all right?" His concern was immediate, palpable. A slow, beatific smile spread across Amelia's lips. No, I'm more than all right. It was the baby." Her eyes, glistening with tears, met his. I felt a flutter. A tiny little kick. Alexander froze, his gaze fixed on her. The world seemed to fade away, leaving only the two of them and the miracle unfolding within her. He held his breath, his hand still placed softly, waiting. Moments stretched, filled with anticipation. Then, a distinct, gentle thud, almost imperceptible to anyone else, resonated against his palm. His eyes snapped to hers, mirroring her awe. "I felt it," he whispered, a tremor in his voice. "Our baby." It kicked. His usually stoic expression melted, replaced by an unadulterated joy that transformed his features. He leaned down, gently kissing her belly, a profound sense of connection washing over him. "Hello there, little one," he murmured, his voice husky with emotion. "You just made your presence known." From that moment, the abstract concept of a baby solidified into a tangible, responsive being. Alexander began a new ritual. Each evening, after dinner, he would sit beside Amelia, his hand resting on her growing bump, patiently waiting for the next flutter, the next gentle nudge. He would talk to their unborn child, sharing updates about his day, sometimes reading excerpts from business journals in a surprisingly soothing tone, or even, to Amelia's endless amusement, discussing the stock market. These were private, sacred moments, a quiet symphony of connection between father, mother, and child. The first flutter had not only announced the baby's presence but had also deepened the already profound bond that held the Sterling family together, weaving the threads of love even tighter. Chapter 5: The Grand Reveal. The first flutter had been a private miracle, a secret shared between Amelia and Alexander. But as Amelia's pregnancy became more evident and her belly rounded gracefully, the secret could no longer be contained within the walls of their opulent penthouse. The world, or at least the elite circles in which the Sterlings moved, was abuzz with speculation. Social media buzzed with grainy paparazzi shots of Amelia, her silhouette subtly changed, accompanied by headlines questioning if the notoriously private Sterling power couple was finally expanding their family. Alexander, ever in control of his narrative, decided it was time for a deliberate announcement. He wanted the news to be shared on their terms, without the invasive clamor of the press. He meticulously planned a discreet, yet undeniably elegant, dinner party. Not a grand gala, but an intimate gathering of their closest friends, family, and a few key business associates who had become like family. The evening of the announcement arrived with a soft glow, the city lights twinkling outside their panoramic windows. Amelia, dressed in a custom-made gown that draped beautifully over her bump, felt a mix of nerves and exhilaration. Alexander had chosen the gown himself, insisting on soft silks and a design that celebrated her new form rather than attempting to hide it. He stood beside her, a steadying presence, his hand often resting on the small of her back, a silent reassurance. During the dessert course, Alexander tapped his champagne flute with a spoon, drawing everyone's attention. A hush fell over the room. His gaze swept over the familiar faces, finally settling on Amelia, a profound tenderness in his eyes. "Friends, family," he began, his voice resonating with an uncharacteristic warmth. "Amelia and I have some truly joyous news to share with you all." He paused, allowing the anticipation to build. "We are expecting our first child." A collective gasp, followed by an immediate eruption of applause and excited murmurs, filled the room. Amelia felt herself flush with happiness, tears pricking at her eyes as friends rushed forward with congratulations and warm embraces. Alexander, keeping one arm firmly around her, accepted the well wishes with a proud smile, his eyes never truly leaving Amelia. He watched as his usually reserved wife blossomed under the genuine warmth of their circle, her joy contagious. Later that evening, as the last guests departed and the penthouse grew quiet once more, Amelia leaned against Alexander, utterly content. "That was perfect, Alex," she whispered, nestling into his embrace. "Thank you for making it so special." He kissed the top of her head. "Only the best for you, my love. And for our little one." He then added, a hint of his strategic mind resurfacing, "The official press release will go out at midnight. By morning, the world will know. But tonight, it was just for us, and those we hold dearest. This is our beginning, Amelia, and I want every step of it to be celebrated." And as he held her close, Amelia knew that with Alexander, every future step would indeed be celebrated, protected, and cherished. Chapter 6: A World Transformed. The official announcement of Amelia Sterling's pregnancy sent ripples through society. The news dominated the front pages of luxury magazines, financial journals, and lifestyle blogs. Alexander Sterling, the elusive billionaire, was to be a father. The public reaction was a predictable mix of fascination and adoration. Commentators speculated on the future heir, while fashion critics lauded Amelia's elegant, yet understated, maternity style. For Alexander, however, the external buzz was merely background noise. His world had already been entirely transformed by the quiet miracle within their home. He became even more protective, if that were possible. While Amelia still enjoyed her structured art time and gentle exercises, Alexander began to anticipate her every unexpressed desire. One afternoon, Amelia mentioned a craving for a specific, artisanal chocolate only found in a small boutique in Paris. Before she could even finish describing it, Alexander had already dispatched his private jet with a discreet team to procure it. Within hours, a perfectly curated selection of the coveted chocolates arrived, nestled in a velvet-lined box. "Alex, you're truly absurd," Amelia laughed, picking up a delicately wrapped truffle, though her eyes shone with affection. "You sent a jet for chocolate." He shrugged, a faint, endearing blush touching his cheeks. "It was just a quick trip. Nothing is too much trouble when it comes to your comfort, my love. And our babies." He often included the baby in his explanations, a testament to how deeply he already connected with the life growing inside Amelia. Beyond material comforts, Alexander's doting manifested in myriad small, personal ways. He would often wake before her to bring her a special herbal tea, brewed to combat any lingering nausea. He started attending her prenatal appointments, not just for the major scans, but for every routine checkup, sitting quietly, holding her hand, asking Dr. Thorne astute questions that often surprised the seasoned physician. He absorbed every detail, from nutrient requirements to the subtle shifts in her energy levels. He also began to research. Endless hours were spent poring over books on child development, parenting philosophies, and even historical accounts of prominent families. He wanted to be prepared, not just financially, but emotionally and intellectually, for the monumental task of fatherhood. Amelia would sometimes find him in his study late at night, surrounded by an unexpected array of parenting guides amidst his usual economic analyses. It was a side of him she hadn't known, a vulnerable and deeply loving aspect that only further solidified her adoration for him. The pregnancy had not just created a new life, but it had subtly reshaped their own. Alexander's formidable power, once solely directed outward to conquer markets, was now intensely focused inward, creating an impenetrable sphere of devotion around his beloved wife and their unborn child. Their home had become a haven, reflecting a love that was profound, unconditional, and limitless in its capacity to dote. Chapter 7. Preparing the Sanctuary. As Amelia entered her third trimester, the excitement in the Sterling household reached a fever pitch. The nursery, a project Alexander had overseen with an intensity usually reserved for multi-billion-dollar mergers, was nearing completion. It was a marvel of design and technology, yet infused with warmth and a soft elegance that spoke to Amelia's artistic sensibilities. Custom-made furniture, crafted from sustainable, hypoallergenic woods, filled the spacious room. The walls were painted a calming, gender-neutral shade, adorned with delicate, hand-painted murals of whimsical celestial scenes. Amelia loved spending time in the nursery, often just sitting in the plush, ergonomic glider, a hand resting on her swollen belly. Alexander would join her whenever he could, his presence filling the room with a quiet strength. He'd meticulously inspect every detail, from the air quality monitor's readings to the softness of the organic cotton sheets in the crib. His concern wasn't just about luxury. It was about creating the safest, most nurturing environment imaginable for their child. One evening, while Amelia was admiring the intricate details of a mobile that gently rotated above the crib, she noticed Alexander examining the security cameras installed discreetly in the corners of the room. "Are those necessary, Alex?" she asked gently, a slight frown creasing her brow. "It feels a bit under surveillance." He turned, his expression softening as he met her gaze. "They're not for surveillance in that sense, my love," he explained, walking over to her and taking her hand. "They're linked to a state-of-the-art monitoring system. Night vision, temperature sensors, breathing monitors, all the best technology to alert us instantly if there's any anomaly. It's about proactive care, not control. Think of it as another layer of peace of mind, allowing us to rest knowing our baby is always safe." Amelia considered his words. She knew his desire to protect was profound, almost instinctual. While sometimes his zeal could feel overwhelming, she understood it came from a place of immense love. "Just promise me," she said, leaning her head on his shoulder, "that we'll still get to sneak in and check on the baby ourselves. I want to hear their little snores, not just see them on a screen." Alexander chuckled, pressing a kiss to her hair. "Of course, my darling. Those moments are sacred. These systems are to enhance, not replace, our presence. And they're exclusively for us and our trusted medical team," he assured her, his hand rubbing her back. Beyond the physical preparations, Alexander began to clear his calendar even further as the due date approached. He appointed a temporary CEO to manage the daily operations of Sterling Enterprises, an unprecedented move that sent shockwaves through the financial world. He was preparing to step back almost entirely from his corporate duties, dedicating himself fully to Amelia and the baby's arrival. The man who had built an empire was now singularly focused on the creation of a family, transforming their opulent home into a true sanctuary for the new life they were so eagerly anticipating. Chapter 8. The Final Countdown. As the final weeks of Amelia's pregnancy unfolded, an undeniable tension, mingled with overwhelming anticipation, settled over the penthouse. The meticulously planned nursery was complete, the baby's essentials all perfectly arranged. Alexander had suspended nearly all his external commitments, transforming into Amelia's constant companion, her watchful guardian. His formidable focus, once a strategic weapon in the boardroom, was now entirely dedicated to her comfort and the impending arrival. Amelia found herself fluctuating between bursts of energy, nesting instincts driving her to meticulously organize tiny baby clothes, and moments of profound fatigue. The sheer weight of carrying a new life, combined with the emotional intensity of the waiting game, was a unique experience. Alexander was always there, a steadying presence. If she looked tired, he would gently guide her to rest. If she expressed a craving, no matter how unusual, it would appear as if by magic. One evening, as Amelia was trying to get comfortable in bed, shifting positions restlessly, Alexander knelt beside her, his hand warm and comforting on her swollen abdomen. "Are you feeling all right, love?" he murmured, his brow furrowed with concern. "Can I get you anything? Another pillow, a warm drink?" She sighed, a small, tired smile gracing her lips. "I'm just big and impatient. I feel like this little one is having a party in there." She shifted again, and a particularly strong kick made her wince slightly. Alexander's eyes immediately went to her face. "Is it painful?" His voice was low, filled with a deep anxiety that surprised even Amelia. The man who faced down hostile takeovers without a blink seemed utterly vulnerable when it came to her discomfort. She reached out, cupping his cheek. "No, darling, not painful. Just strong. It's a good sign, remember? Dr. Thorne said the strong movements mean a healthy, active baby." She saw the worry in his eyes and felt a surge of tenderness. His doting, while sometimes overwhelming in its scale, was truly born of an immense love and a profound fear of anything harming her or their child. He leaned in, resting his forehead against her bump. "Just come out already, little one," he murmured, his voice a playful plea. "Your mother is getting tired of waiting, and so am I." Amelia giggled, imagining the CEO of Sterling Enterprises begging his unborn child to make an appearance. They spent hours talking, recounting their journey together, sharing their hopes and dreams for their child. Alexander spoke of teaching the baby to ride a bike in their sprawling country estate, of reading them bedtime stories, of showing them the world. Amelia spoke of art, of laughter, of building a home filled with warmth and creativity. In these quiet, intimate moments, the weight of their wealth and power faded, replaced by the universal anticipation of becoming parents. The world outside waited for the Sterling heir, but within their sanctuary, Amelia and Alexander simply awaited their child, their hearts overflowing with love as the final countdown began. Chapter 9. The Call. The night air in the penthouse was unusually still, a stark contrast to the usual distant hum of the city. Amelia lay awake, watching the digital clock on her bedside table tick past 2 a.m. A restless energy filled her, not exactly discomfort, but an undeniable shift in her body. Alexander, who had been sleeping lightly beside her, stirred, sensing her wakefulness. Even in sleep, he was attuned to her. "Amelia, is everything all right?" he mumbled, his voice thick with sleep but instantly alert. He reached for her hand, his fingers intertwining with hers. "I think." She began, then a sharp, distinct pang tightened her abdomen. She gasped softly, her eyes widening. "I think it's starting, Alex." In an instant, Alexander was wide awake, sitting upright. His initial reaction was a surge of adrenaline, quickly followed by a calm, methodical efficiency that would make his board of directors proud. He was prepared for this. He had mentally rehearsed this moment countless times. "Okay, my love. Breathe with me," he instructed, his voice steady despite the rapid beat of his own heart. He reached for his phone on the nightstand. "I'm calling Dr. Thorne. The car will be ready." Within minutes, the penthouse was a hub of hushed, efficient activity. Alexander, dressed impeccably, moved with purpose, gathering the pre-packed hospital bag, ensuring Amelia had her comfortable slippers, and offering a steadying hand as she slowly rose from the bed. He never once rushed her, his patience a profound reassurance. Dr. Thorne's voice on the phone was calm, reassuring, a mirror to Alexander's own demeanor. "Just as we discussed, Alexander. We'll meet you at the hospital. Everything is ready." The ride to the hospital, usually a quick journey, felt interminable. Alexander kept one hand on Amelia's knee, his thumb gently stroking circles. He spoke softly, reassuring her, reminding her of their preparations, distracting her with light anecdotes. He saw the pain flicker across her face with each contraction, and his jaw tightened with a helplessness he rarely experienced. He wished he could bear the pain for her. Upon arrival, they were ushered into a private, luxurious birthing suite that Alexander had personally ensured was equipped with every possible comfort and state-of-the-art medical facility. The hospital staff, from the nurses to the anesthesiologist, moved with quiet respect and efficiency, already briefed on the Sterling protocol. As Amelia settled into the bed, Alexander never left her side. He held her hand, wiped her brow, whispered words of encouragement. His focus was solely on her, a singular beacon of strength and love. The hours that followed would test their endurance, but as Amelia looked into his eyes, she saw not just a billionaire husband, but a man completely devoted, ready to face this monumental journey with her every step of the way. The call had come, and their lives were about to change forever. Chapter 10: A New Dawn. The birthing suite, usually a space of quiet medical precision, was filled with Amelia's determined breaths and Alexander's constant, encouraging whispers. Hours blurred into a timeless continuum of effort and unwavering support. Alexander remained by her side, a human anchor, his hand a firm, comforting presence in hers. His composure, though tested, never faltered. He was not the CEO of Sterling Enterprises. He was simply Amelia's devoted husband, witnessing the most profound act of creation. Finally, after what felt like an eternity and a blink, a new sound filled the room, a tiny, indignant cry that pierced through the exhaustion and settled deep in their hearts. "It's a boy," Dr. Thorne announced, his voice filled with gentle triumph. Tears streamed down Amelia's face, not of pain, but of pure, unadulterated joy and relief. Alexander, his eyes glistening, leaned down to kiss her forehead, a kiss that conveyed a universe of love and gratitude. Then, his gaze, usually so sharp and analytical, softened completely as the nurse gently placed a tiny, swaddled bundle into Amelia's arms. Their son. He was perfect. 10 tiny fingers, 10 tiny toes, a shock of dark hair, and eyes that fluttered open to reveal a deep, curious blue. Amelia cradled him close, her heart overflowing. Alexander knelt beside the bed, his voice choked with emotion as he gently touched his son's miniature hand. "Hello, little one," he whispered, a reverence in his tone that Amelia had rarely heard. He looked up at Amelia, his face a mixture of awe and profound adoration. "You did it, my love. You are truly incredible." He then placed a tender kiss on their son's forehead. The first few hours were a blur of new sensations, of skin-to-skin contact, of quiet awe. Alexander, despite his earlier anxieties, was a natural, instinctively supportive father. He watched Amelia nurse their son, a picture of absolute serenity, and felt a new dimension of his love for her unfurl. It was a love that had always been immense, but now, with their child, it felt boundless, woven into the very fabric of their existence. As the sun began to rise, casting a soft, golden glow through the suite's windows, a new dawn truly broke for the Sterling family. Alexander held his son for the first time, a protective arm still around Amelia. He looked from his beloved wife, pale yet radiant, to their precious son nestled in his arms, and a sense of completeness washed over him unlike anything his vast wealth or power had ever provided. This was his true empire, built not on boardrooms and mergers, but on the foundation of an unwavering love, a doting devotion, and the new life that had just made their world infinitely richer. The journey of the beloved pregnant wife and her billionaire husband had reached its most beautiful chapter, the beginning of their lives as a family.